If you've grown up in really most non-African parts of the world, you've probably been, at the very least, exposed to the mindset that Africa is an entirely homogeneous continent, assuming there's much civilization there at all. Now, I'd imagine you probably know that that's not remotely true, which is a good thing because this massive continent is home to a huge variety of different cultures that I think could use some time in the spotlight. First, let's get some scale with this thing. Something we all probably already know, but that we don't really think about all that much, is just how big Africa is. Africa has a surface area of 30 million square kilometers, making it the second largest continent on Earth, behind of course Asia. Way larger than North America and almost twice as large as South America. Normally at this point, I suppose I compare Africa to countries, like trying to fit as many Chinas and Russias as I can, but Africa is big enough to fit all of Europe and Oceania with almost enough room to squeeze in Antarctica. In fact, Africa is 8 million square kilometers short of equaling the size of the moon. Forget Russia and their whole being bigger than Pluto thing, Africa's playing the real game here. So yeah, Africa is pretty big. So you could probably also imagine that it has a pretty diverse collection of cultures, especially with their massive population. Africa is home to a rapidly increasing population of 1.2 billion, which, although smaller than India and China, is still bigger than all of Luxembourg, Tuvalu, Brunei, Liechtenstein, and the Americas combined. Of course, probably the best way for us to tackle a subject like this would be to first divide Africa into some more bite-sized pieces. There are numerous ways to divide Africa, including poorly, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to go with the regions assigned by the African Union to better categorize its member nations: North, East, Central, West, and Southern Africa. So first we start in North Africa, and the countries of Egypt, Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, and Morocco, and possibly also Mauritania and Sudan depending on who you ask. Also, no comments on the whole Western Sahara thing. These nations all occupy various parts of the mighty Sahara Desert, and all have strong Arabic influences, with all of them at least partially speaking Arabic, and all but Sudan having Islam as the official state religion, in contrast to the more Christian and native religion-based regions south of the Sahel, and also hence why South Sudan wasn't fully comfortable being inside of Sudan. This region has had extensive contact with Europe and Western Asia for thousands of years, having been part of European and Middle Eastern empires before colonialism was in fashion. Most of these countries, aside from Egypt and Sudan, are also part of a region known as the Maghreb, essentially the western part of the Arab world, though they also have long histories with the native Berber or Amazigh peoples. Do check out my friend KhAnubis' video if you want to learn more about the Amazigh. They're actually a very interesting people group, but of course they're far from the only interesting culture in Africa. Next we head to East Africa, most likely where the human race first evolved, and now home to South Sudan, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Djibouti, Somalia, Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, and Madagascar, and possibly also including Mozambique, Malawi, Zambia, and Zimbabwe, again depending on who you ask. This region notably includes the Horn of Africa and the Great African Lakes, including Lakes Turkana, Victoria, Tanganyika, and Malawi. In the north of this region, people generally speak Afro-Asiatic languages, like Somali, Amharic, and Tigrinya, as well as a minority of those who speak their distant linguistic relative Arabic. Many in this region also speak various Nilo-Saharan languages, and Madagascar's Malagasy language is actually an Austronesian language, technically more closely related to Malay and Hawaiian. The south, however, is much more dominated by Niger-Congo Bantu languages, with by far the most prevalent, at 80 million speakers, being of course Swahili, spoken as an official language in Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. This area was also dominated by the Swahili city-states, who had lucrative trading relations all across the Indian Ocean. Also, I'd definitely keep an eye on this region in the coming decades, especially with the rise of the East African Federation. Check out this video from Atlas Pro for more information on that. In Central Africa, we have Angola, Cameroon, the Central African Republic, Chad, Dr. Congo, the Republic of the Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, and São Tomé and Príncipe, all members of the Economic Community of Central African States, or ECOWAS, with the addition of Rwanda and Burundi. Perhaps not too surprisingly, this region is primarily home to Niger-Congo language speakers, as in between the Niger and Congo rivers. Speaking of said rivers, this region is also home to the Congo Basin, itself home to one of the largest rainforests in the world. Oh, and check out this Chad. It means lake. Let's establish some sick empires here, and also down in Congo. On to West Africa, and we see a lot of smaller nations, namely Benin, Burkina Faso, Cape Verde, Cote d'Ivoire, the Gambia, Ghana, Guinea, Guinea-Bissau, Liberia, Mali, Niger, Nigeria, Senegal, Sierra Leone, and Togo, all of which being members of the Economic Community of West African States, or ECOWAS. This region was home to many large empires throughout history, including those of the Songhai, Ghana, Oyo, and Mali empires, the latter of which having at one point been ruled by the richest man in the world, Mansa Musa. 'Cause gold and salt and all that. With a population of nearly 400 million, this region is crazily diverse in terms of languages and cultures, and could honestly probably get a video in its own right, given that there are over 500 languages spoken in Nigeria alone. West Africa is also ecologically diverse, straddling the end of the Sahara Desert to the north and the beginning of the rainforest to the south, separated by a region known as the Sahel. Finally, we reach Southern Africa, whose boundaries are somewhat vague but include South Africa, obviously, Lesotho, Eswatini, Botswana, and Namibia, and possibly also Angola, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, and Malawi. These nations are all part of the South African Development Community, alongside Dr. Congo, Tanzania, Comoros, Mauritius, and Seychelles. The first 5 nations, however, are also part of the South African Customs Union, and they all have very diverse cultural and linguistic backgrounds in their own right. Bantu languages are again widespread throughout this region, but Khoisan languages are also widespread throughout the Kalahari Desert. Though it should be noted that the Khoisan language family is actually an outdated theory, and nowadays actually refers to multiple different language families. Nonetheless, these groups, including mainly the Khoikhoi and the San, speak languages such as Zulu, Sandawe, Hadza, and Xhosa. And yes, Xhosa, as these are in fact the famous clicking languages of Southern Africa, more or less the only of their kind in the world. So this was kind of a very brief basic overview of how diverse Africa really is. So I guess I just took 7 minutes to say that basically saying Africa is all the same would be like saying Europe is all the same, but like times 3. Remember, South Africa alone has 11 official languages, as well as numerous others that are spoken but not official. And even that only makes up a small fraction of the 2,000 languages spoken across the continent. Of course, there's really no true way to measure diversity, and the only reason I stuck so closely to linguistics is because I honestly personally find languages to be easier to keep track of and to neatly categorize for a short educational YouTube video. But do keep in mind that, art and religion are also things. Also, I intentionally left out European influences in sub-Saharan Africa since I wanted to talk about the native cultures. But do keep in mind that whichever empire a given country was once under has likely played a large role in everything from cuisine to governmental structure to which language you should probably learn if you want to travel there. Basically, Africa is crazy diverse, and lumping it all together as one homogeneous landmass isn't really a good way to think about the place. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and share it, and do please tell me if you want to see more of these series in the future. I've already done videos about Russia and India a few months ago, but if this video does well, I might extend the series even further for other countries that we don't normally assume are very diverse. Let me know which countries I should cover, and as always, be sure to subscribe to learn something new every Sunday.